Hello and welcome to Rolling with Reviews. I'm Will, and with me as always is the farmer of high scores herself,
Sarah.
And today we're doing a review of My Farm Shop. Sarah, tell us a bit about this game.
All right, in My Farm Shop, players manage their farms to produce various goods and sell them. On each player's turn, they roll 3 dice. One is used to gain a new field card, and the other 2 are used by everyone to activate the corresponding field. After several rounds, whoever has the most money wins, and there are also 3 expansion modules included in the box. So, why did we get this game?
Well, for the most part, we watched a review on Rahdo.
Yep.
And his playthrough of it was just so intriguing. So Sarah put it on a list of things to watch. And then when she needed an excuse to spend more money on cool stuff,
because you got to spend $100 to get free shipping.
You did that with Merchants of Magic. And
yeah, well, this was good too.
Because she could.
Because I could.
So it got thrown in there. We picked it up, and glad we did.
Yes.
Because what do we like about this game?
The dice. Okay, so both of us really like Valeri Card Kingdoms. It has that. You roll the dice, there's 2 dice in that game, and everybody activates the cards in front of them. And it's also similar to Machi Koro and a couple of other games like it. Space Base, yes.
Yeah, another one.
So in this one, though, it's a little bit different that you roll 3 dice. So the active player rolls 3 dice. They are going to choose one of the dice as the way to gain a new field card from the market, because there's 6 spaces in the market. So you're going to use 1 die, and they'll say it's a 3. You get the field card from the 3rd spot. And you're going to put it into your farm board. And that has 10 spaces. The other 2 dice, then everybody is going to use the sum of those 2 dice to activate the corresponding field. So there's just a lot of interesting decisions that you can make with those 3 dice.
Yeah, and in both situations, whether you're grabbing a new farm card or activating the sum of the remaining 2 dice, you have burlap sacks that you can change pipping up or down.
Right.
However, there's no rollover. You can't roll over from 12 to 2 and vice versa.
Right.
It goes up to 12 and goes down to 2.
And then 1 to 6 for the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really great in that they do give that...
extra bit of control.
Yeah, extra bit of control. And when somebody does it, they only change the dice for themselves, not for everyone else. So everybody could do it to make the die go a different way.
Yes.
Talking about the field cards, the field deck itself is really smartly designed because it is set up differently for the different player counts. So you always have this progression, and there's like the star cards are always your starter ones that go out on the starting board. And then you have cards 1 through 6, and you use a certain number of each card grouping randomly, and you're setting up this deck so that the cards get better as you go through the game, and the number of each card, or each type of card, is going to be different depending on the player count. So it's really well balanced, very finely tuned, I think.
Yeah, and because you don't use all of, say, card number 2, which is in a certain subsection of your stacked deck, it allows for a variety. You don't really know, you can always count on a certain card number 2 coming out in a game. So you have that extra bit of surprise from game to game. But there's been so many times we've played one of these games and they had like, oh, flip out these cards to form whatever row to buy something from. And they're just wildly, crazily balanced. Like, okay, now it's going to be a really long game because all of these are way too expensive.
Right.
Or all of these are so cheap, or we got this thing all built up and now we never need it again. So that kind of fixes all that with this very smart deck building. It does take a little bit of time to set up, but it's not terrible.
Oh no, even though, like I said, there's 6 different sets of cards, it never felt cumbersome because it's not a lot. But because you never use all of them, it keeps that variety, replayability kind of thing. And that, like he said, the surprise of, well, you think you're going to, need egg, but you can't always count on an egg coming out in the next grouping or whatever. So, yeah, I never thought it was cumbersome at all to set up.
Yeah, and speaking of needing egg, that leads us to a third thing we like, is the hook of the game. So the hook of the game really comes in balancing between the production of your 4 resources, egg, honey, milk, and wool, versus the selling of these resources. you'll find yourself at times like, oh yeah, I'm making such a great farm, only to realize you've covered up all the production. And so, yeah, you're selling through it like hotcakes, but now you got like 1 milk left. On the flip side, you're like, all right, I got all this production, and your little store is almost full, but nothing's selling. So you have to find that right balance. And with your farm always changing, it's a neat trick to balance.
The game encourages you to always walk that fine line, but there's times you're going to have to veer to the left and times you're going to have to veer to the right, because you always have to continually update and change your board. On your turn, you have to take a field card. And at the beginning, you're like, great, because all the pre-printed stuff is like not very good. I can make 1 egg. Woo! Look at me go.
That anorexic chicken over there is looking pretty sick.
But then you can pick up a card that makes an egg and a wool, and you're like, well, that's fantastic. That's better. But like you said, you have to balance between how many of your fields are straight production versus how many of them are the market actions, the ones that let you sell the things that you've got. And you've got to line it up so that what you're producing matches what you can sell, because you cannot sell anything unless you have a card that allows you to do so.
Yeah.
It has to be in your field.
People want wool. They don't want eggs, because that won't make a sweater.
Yeah. They need to make a new pair of socks, and eggs are not very warm for your feet.
No.
No, not at all.
Probably good for your skin.
Probably good for your skin.
Anyway.
Anywho. And on top of that, even though there's plenty of variability in the game as it is, they add 3 little modules that further tweak and change how the game plays. You want to start with one of them?
So the farmer token is kind of neat. It replaces one of the cards out there, and when taken, you get tokens. And tokens are going to work differently based on the farm tiles. They're tiles, right?
The farmer tiles,
Tiles that are out there, so that you can then spend them later to do something interesting when maybe a certain situation happens, like the dice equal each other. Then you can spend this, get a free thing.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
You only use 4 farmer tiles in a game, and so there are 4 unique tokens, and they don't really matter what they are. It's just that each farmer tile gets one of these tokens on it, and so that identifies that when you get, I'm trying to even remember what some of them are.
Well, wheelbarrows
wheelbarrow.
are now this particular ability.
So if you pick up a wheelbarrow, and like Will said, one of the options is 2 dice equaling, you get a burlap sack or something. You can then spend it to do that. Or there's times where you could trade goods for other goods, and so you can spend it to do that. So it's a way to get a little bit more manipulation. The only challenge I found with that was it's instead of taking a field card. So there are times where you're like, I really do want to get these little extra tweaks, but I'm giving up the opportunity to make my farm better. So that is a very challenging decision.
Yeah. However, on the back end, the farmer card will then have to go back out. It doesn't just go straight back to the spot it occupied before. It actually kicks out a different farm card. So you can have a slightly tactical decision there of, well, I don't want them to have that, so goodbye. And it moves the game forward.
Right. It does. I particularly like the jump start. So that's the one. So everybody's player board is mostly the same on the A side. I don't think they're actually labeled A and B, but there's the one side.
Yeah, it mixes up basic resources.
Right, it mixes up the basic. But if you flip it over, there are now 2 field areas that are completely blank, and then the rest of it's got some randomness, but some sameness as well. Then everybody drafts, or randomly shuffled, or I think you draft. I can't remember now.
Basically what happens is 2 cards are dealt out for the number of players. Then the last person who would go picks the first one, and it goes through until it's back to the first player, and they just get whatever's left.
You pick a pair.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get 2 cards, and they go in those empty spots, and they are better, again, jump start, so it gets you a little bit started faster than just the basic board, and I really did appreciate that. But the thing is, if you ever get rid of those, the space below is empty, so you'd have to refill it.
Yeah. What was the last?
The last one is the goals. You liked that one a little bit more than I did.
Goals. Oh.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah, it's if you've achieved a certain farm state.
Yeah, so maybe it's having 5 cards on your field that have the little market symbol, which is to indicate that it's a selling action. Or if you've acquired so many, I don't know, of a certain good. Basically, whoever meets, there's only a first and a second place, and it's, victory points or coins in this game because you're trying to make money. Whoever gets there first puts their marker on it and will get those victory points. Whoever gets that second puts it on. But there's only a first and a second place.
Yeah, it's just one more little wrinkle to think about while you're doing this other stuff. It does lead to slightly higher scores because it's just more points that are out there.
Mm-hmm. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Then the whole thing about the field cards changing constantly throughout the game, we really like it. This kind of adaptive engine building where you can't just, like a lot of engine builders, you just continually collect cards and you just keep getting more and you just keep getting more. And some of them will change states, like Space Base, they flip over and you get a lesser effect of them or whatever. But in this one, you're actually having to give up older cards to get new ones. That might be a little bit of a challenge for some people.
Yeah, that can rub them the wrong way. It's like, but I took an action to get that in the first place.
Right.
But you'll have to remember that this deck is built smart.
Yes.
So that everything that's come after is better because it's better return, it's more production.
Maybe it costs less.
Yeah, everything about the cards are better than the ones that came before. Mm-hmm. So it's a mental trick, and I know some people that's just not their jam. This turned out very well for us.
Yeah, I would actually say that I typically don't like those type of things where you're building something up and you're forced to get rid of something. But like in this case, there was I remember one turn where I had to do 2 pairs of goods to get like 7 points. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. I did it. And then a new card came out in the market and it was more efficient version of the same thing. Like I think it took less goods or it gave more victory points. I can't remember which.
I think it was, the first one was 3 goods of a type to get 7 points. And then the new one was 2 goods of the same type to get 7 points.
That's what it was. So it took fewer goods to get the same points. And I'm like, well, of course I want that. It's better. It's doing the same thing that I'm doing right now, but better. So normally, yeah, I would not be up for constantly changing my board, but in this case, you want to. So if you hear that this is a game where you have to constantly change your board and you're afraid of that, I wouldn't be too afraid because you're going to see that the progression is better.
Plus, the game goes pretty fast.
It really is. The game always is moving forward.
Yeah. Now, since we start talking about things that are on that quasi what we like and don't like, let's move into what we don't like. The art.
Yeah, I mean, the art just reminds me of like I'm scrolling through my phone looking for a new game to like waste some time on, and there's another farm sim and there's another farm sim, and
not a very innovative farm sim. Just one that bought a pack of assets.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate because I have talked to a few people where the art has kind of turned them off because it is so generic, and I hate to say that because I know art is always a subjective thing and it shouldn't put you off either way, but I know that it's always going to.
I think it lacks personality.
I think that's really my problem. For how fun and engaging this game is, I want to be a bit more engaged in the art as well, and I'm not.
Right.
So, I mean, Will's like, I don't care. I don't look at it anyway.
They all look the same to me. We're all playing the same game, right? No matter what it is.
That's true.
They just keep calling it weird names. Like My Farm Shop. What does that even mean? It's the same as Terra Mystica, right?
No.
Same game.
No.
Same game, looks the same to me.
But on the sort of better news, that's the only thing we don't really like about the game is the art. I mean, we love so much about it otherwise.
Yes. Talk about minor. All right, let's get to ratings.
No, let's.
Oh, what's this game for?
Yes, we are going to introduce a new segment called Who Is This For?
We're probably going to ease into this, so
Yeah, we'll see. We're going to try to work it in as we move along. So, for casual and family gamers, this is probably going to be your main game of the night, but you're going to probably very thoroughly enjoy it.
Yes. And if you're a hardcore gamer, this is the game you'll throw into a bunch of what you would consider light board games. Because it never overstays its welcome, has some deep choices, and gets on and off the table very quickly. So throw this in with a whole bunch of other ones, and that's your whole game night.
Right, the game night of a bunch of smaller games, not necessarily filler games, but lighter 45-minute to an hour type games, and there you've got 3 or 4 hours for your game night.
Yes.
Okay, now we can move on to our rating.
So for our ratings, we each have 1d6 worth of ratings to give. 1 is low, 6 is high. We give a number, reason why, then add 2 together and see what it rolled for us. Sarah, what did My Farm Shop roll for you?
It rolled a 5. I just really enjoy this. Again, it's one of those things I didn't think I was going to, but I do. I enjoy the constantly thinking about how am I going to upgrade it? Which way am I going to go? Make sure that I'm balancing between production and selling things. And I just find all of it engaging. I like most of the modules that it adds to shake things up. There's certainly ones I'd prefer to play with more, like the Jumpstart is one I think I'd always like to play with, but not so much the other ones, but we'll see. Yeah, I think this is one that I'd pretty much want to play almost all the time.
For me, I was going to give it a 5.
Oh.
Honestly. I give it a 6.
Oh.
Now, the reason why is I kept thinking about it and thought, well, what objections do I have about this game? And I was coming up blank because this is a game I can show novice players.
That's true.
And have a great time. I can show experienced players, have a great time. I like the mechanics. I like everything it does. I feel engaged on every turn. It's fast to play. It's just checks off every box that I have. And if like my only complaint is the art, I don't see the art anyway. So is that really a complaint for me?
Oh, you're making me feel like I should change my rating.
She's locked in at a 5.
All right. Well, I will say it probably is a very close to a 6. And yeah, unfortunately, I think for me, it's the art. I am I guess, obviously more visual person. So I will stick with my 5. It's still a very good rating for the game.
And if all that wasn't enough, I think the game's fairly cheap.
Yeah, I mean, we got it from Cool Stuff for, $20 because they had it on sale, but I want to say it's normally $35.
Even at $35.
Even at $35, this is really good. I would definitely recommend.
Plus, it comes with 3 modules so that you can even change up, even if you get bored of the original gameplay, which is fun.
Yep.
So, yes, 6 for me, 5 for her, 11 out of 12. That's a lot to grow on.
Yes.
That's crazy. Well, that will do it for us here at Rolling with Reviews. And Sarah,
yes,
do you feel like a farmer?
I think I feel like a farmer after this.
Well, I know what I feel like, and I feel like we've been Rolling with Reviews. And remember, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling with 2. That's TWO. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And on YouTube, please like and subscribe.
And if you have time, check out the other content Nanaman has found for you, because remember, he's rolling with you.